Hey everyone, welcome to my Grace Tutorials where I will be showing you walkthroughs of my most favorite glams from beginning to end. This tutorial I will be showing you how I created this stunning smoky eye glam, so without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start off prepping her skin. I'm using the Bioderma Micellar water and I'm using a cotton round to basically wipe away all the surface oils and dirt on her skin, making sure that we have a clean and beautiful surface to start off with the makeup. Here I'm using the Elemis Superfood Fruit Toner, and I really love this toner because it smells so good, but also of course it has the great properties to be able to help the makeup last longer and to even out her skin tone and make sure, you know, her pores are minimized for the makeup to look its best. Here I'm going in with the Heritage Store Rosewater spray. I really love this spray because it feels so refreshing and cool on the face, and it really helps with the hydration. So I really make sure I put this on everyone's face before, you know, in the skin prepping process. Now I'm going in with the Tarte Drink of H2O Hydro Boost. I really love this moisturizer because it is very lightweight, but it still gives, you know, the perfect hydration for the skin. So I'm going to apply this to her skin and then press it in with the brush, making sure she's nice and hydrated. Notice that I'm using a brush with a lot of the skincare prepping, but you can use your hands, but I just prefer to use a brush because, you know, I feel like it's a little bit more sanitary for me, and I love pressing in the product with the brush. It's a little bit more satisfying. Using the Neutrogena Hydrating Primer Serum, we're going to place a few drops on her face and press that into her skin as well. I like to use this in between moisturizing and priming because it's like the perfect in-between product for transitioning into the primer, but it still keeps the, you know, the hydration going on. And lastly, we have the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. This is our primer that we're using. I like to use this when we're going for a very long lasting look because it's, you know, it's that tacky texture and it helps the makeup stick and last, you know, very long. And if you'll look closely at the brush, you'll kind of see that tackiness going on as I'm pressing in that product to her skin with the brush. So now we're going to transition to working on her eyes. I'm using the e.l.f. brow gel, and we're going to use a spoolie with this, and we're going to press down her eyebrows. I like to think of this as like a edge control for brows. This is basically going to, you know, place out and shape her brows for us to keep it in place. We're going to prep her eyelid using the color Raine eyeshadow base in the shade Rope. We're going to start off shaping the bottom of her eyebrow with it, and then we're going to carry it down to the lid. As you can see, I'm starting at her arch. I like to start at the arch so that I can make sure that we have a good arch with the brow. We don't want the arch of the brow to be the same, you know, height as the front of the brow, and I'm going to carry it down to the inner corner of the eye. As a makeup artist, you know, watching tutorials and watching makeup videos, I notice how a lot of people, you know, they shape their brows differently. But I just want to point out that me personally, I like to use the tip of my flat brush because I feel like it gives it a straighter line than using the side. And maybe sometimes in the front of the brow, like towards the inner corner, I'll use the side because I do like a more diffused look in the inner corner of the brow. And once you see me step away from the flat brush and use a more blendable brush, you'll see that I'll kind of fan out the concealer in the inner corner of the eye to create that fan-like look in the front and to diffuse those sharp lines when in the front of the brow. Okay, so now let's start creating our smoky eye. I'm using the colored Raine neutral chic pigment palette, and I'm going in with that first shade, Naked, and we're going to use this as our transition color for the smoky eye. And we're going to go in with a wider eyeshadow brush, and we're just going to buff that out on the eyelid. With a more denser eyeshadow brush, we're going to dip into the shade Satin, and we're going to pack that color in the crease of the lid. This is my favorite step because it gives you a clear, view of exactly how you want the smoky eye to shape, and that's basically what we're doing. And I'm going for more like a cat eye smoky eyes, so I'm going to pack in the color in that exact shape, and then I'm going to kind of buff it out, fluffing it up to closer to the brow. But we're still going to make sure that we're not overshadowing this shade with the previous shade that we just applied. We just want to make a smooth transition, and that's going to cause for, lightly tapping the shades and tag teaming with the brushes. I swapped out my brushes here. I have a more smaller eyeshadow brush, and I basically just went above that crease and I blended out those two shades to create, like a seamless transition. Now we're going to transition into our next darkest shade, which is First Kiss, and we're going to place this on the actual lid. As you can see, there is an obvious placement for each shade, and we're going from lighter to darker. So the darkest shade, we're going to place it on the lid, and it's going to have that transition from that second shade that's within the crease. And notice how much I'm packing that color, because we want this color to be bold, because this is what really creates that smoky eye. And now we're going to go in with a little bit of black. We're going to place this in the winged area of the eyeshadow, and this is going to create that winged out look that I was going for. And we're going to kind of blend this out into that darkest brown shade just a tad bit, but we want to keep it with the illusion of a wing. And notice how I'm using very small brushes when I'm creating this smoky eye, because it's a smoky eye, so we want to make sure that we're not using too big of brushes to create these smoky looks, because then that's going to cause the color to travel in places that we don't want, and we really don't want that for a smoky eye, because then the smoky eye is just going to look a little bit crazy. And right here I want to note that, I kind of cleaned up the outside of the eyeshadow to enhance that winged out look. So I use like a Q-tip or lip applicator to clean up the fallout from the eyeshadow. And now that we have the top of the eye done, we're going to go and kind of do the same thing for the bottom. We're going to place that eyeshadow base underneath our eyes. We're going to press it in, and then we're going to start with carrying out that eyeshadow down there. Here I went in with my most precise brush, and I dipped into the shade Satin to mix with that black shade that we had already had on the brush from the wing. And we're going to just kind of shade in underneath the eye, right at the waterline. We don't want to carry it down too low, especially being that this is a smoky eye. And we're going to connect it to the outer wing of the eyeshadow at the top. And now we're going to go in with the colored Raine liquid eyeliner. I'm going to go on top of that black eyeshadow and create an actual wing, stopping in the middle of the eyelid. And to complete underneath the eye, we're going to go in with the Crown Brush Gel Eyeliner. And I'm using a lip applicator because I like the shape of it. It really helps me get that waterline perfectly without any problems. So that's basically what I'm doing here to create that fullness of the smoky eye on the waterline. And now we're going to go in with mascara. I'm using the CAIA, I believe you pronounce it, mascara. And we're going to basically just, fill in the lashes and get ready for the false lashes. Lifting them up and creating more volume to attach the false lashes to. And now using my favorite lash glue, the Duo Lash Glue, we're going to apply the lashes. I'm going to have where I get my lashes from listed in the product section Just in case you guys are wondering where I get my lashes from, it's always Amazon, by the way, unless I'm working with, you know, brands that are, you know, wanting me to try out their lashes. Okay, so now we're moving on to the face. I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Foundation in the shade 455. I'm using a flat brush to apply this foundation first. I kind of like to apply it with a flat brush and then blend it in. We're going to shade darker because obviously, you know, she has a little bit of a tan as opposed to her face, so we want to make sure we have an even balance. If you're looking for a full coverage Longwear foundation, this is definitely one I would definitely recommend to you because it is an interesting formula to me. I love the fact that it is full coverage, but it's not so much heavyweight. I like how it's lightweight, but it still, you know, gives the coverage that it needs and is definitely buildable as well. And before moving on to this step and explaining it, I'd like to point out how I used a setting spray when I was applying the foundation to help, you know, move around that product. Just in case y'all was wondering what that was. But back to my current step. Right here I'm using the Makeup Forever foundation palette, and I'm using this to highlight her face. I have looked everywhere online to figure out the names of these shades and I cannot seem to find it, so I'm just going to tell you guys what I'm using. I first used a shade that was closer to the skin complexion, and then in the inner corner of the eyes, you know, I usually like it a little bit brighter there, so I went in for a lighter shade, and we're also going to do this in the rest of the T-zone. I love the Makeup Forever palettes because they have such a creamy consistency, and I love how much hydration it adds to the skin and the glowiness. I love a cream in general, but this is one of my favorite creams, so I definitely had to include that in this glam. And now we're going to contour with another cream that I like very much, and it is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. And we're going to basically apply this in all of our, you know, contoured areas of her face, starting with her cheekbones. As you can see, I'm really lightly applying this because I'm not really like a heavy contour girl. So, you know, I like a more natural, structured face. I like to just enhance their features, so that's basically what I'm doing, you know, lightly pressing in all her contoured areas and, you know, just enhancing her features. I figured just blending in the product as I applied it would have been better and easier for me in this application, but sometimes I do apply the product and then blend it. But I will say that this step here, it really helps that seamless transition from the highlight to the contour by just applying it right then and there. So that's basically what I wanted to do here. And here I'm going to, you know, create the contouring of the nose with the same putty bronzer. We're just going to be using a small brush to shape the nose. And now we're going to just start blending. I'm going to let you guys watch me go through the process of this, and you'll notice that, you know, it's easier for me to blend it being that I applied the contour in an already blended, you know, position. So, you know, I'm just going to let you guys watch how I do that. I went in with a smaller brush underneath the eyes just so I can have a little bit more precise placement so that I wouldn't mess up the eyeshadow, but we want to make sure that we're not having any creasing down there. The next step is going to be applying powder, so we want to make sure that we don't have any creasing underneath her eyes. Oh, so I almost forgot about blush. We're using the Milani Cheek Kiss Cream Blush, and we're going to basically just apply this above the contour area. We're going to give her, you know, a little bit more color to her face after we applied all those contoured and neutral shades. I am definitely becoming a fan of cream blush. I feel like it's a lot better than the powdered blush, but I do most of the time combine the two. But if you wanted, we could definitely clearly just do cream because look at how beautiful it looks. But yeah, onto the powder. We're using the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. We're going to be setting in all those highlighted areas, pressing it in with a powder puff. I would like to let you guys know that I'm not a baker. I like to press in my setting powders. I feel like it's more, you know, efficient for what it is supposed to do. I feel like sitting it on the skin for too long, I feel like it just makes it a little bit too washed out. So I'm very cautious with my setting powders. The only areas that I may bake is underneath the cheekbone, so I can create a sharper, you know, contour there, and sometimes, you know, on the outside of the nose in the inner corner of the eyes to create a little bit more of a highlighted look. With that being said, we're now going to set in the contoured areas. I'm using the Juvia's Place Bronzer Duo in the light palette, and we're going to be using that bottom shade to press in all those contoured areas, completing that light and airy contour look, not too harsh. Here I'm using the Fit Me Press powder in the shade 128. I'm going to be pressing all of this into all those areas where I place that translucent powder, just so we can make sure she keeps her color. Another reason why I like using this pressed powder is because it has such a smooth effect to the skin, and you know, that's definitely the look that we're going to always want to go for. And along with that, Laura Mercier is just a great combination for airbrushed skin. Okay, so now moving on to the lips, we're going to be using the Colored Raine Queen Bee lip liner. We're going to be shaping out her lips with this lip liner. I chose a brown because I wanted to go for a more soft and natural look, considering we have a lot of boldness with the eyes. I feel like it would have been the perfect pair to match with the makeup look. So that's basically what I did here. And now finishing off that natural lip look, we're going to be using the NYX Butter Gloss, which is a lot of people's favorite. I'm using the shade Fortune Cookie, I believe. And we're going to just be applying this to her lips, creating that natural lip look. Very glossy and soft. And real quick, before finishing up, we're going to touch up her eyebrows. I'm using the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo Color Compact in chocolate, and we're going to be filling in her brows, you know, making them a little bit fuller. We had a lot of powders that kind of pressed into her brows and interfered, but the great part about this step is that we already have the brow shape, so we're basically just filling in those gaps, you know, and just completing the brow. And as you can see, she really didn't need much. And now lastly, the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Setting Spray. We're going to spray her all over her face and, you know, leave her with that hydrating glowy look, as well as, you know, setting in stone all her makeup and helping it last long. And I'm also going to press it in underneath her eyes with that powder puff as well. And there you have it, a beautiful smoky eye glam. If you guys enjoyed, definitely subscribe to not miss any more tutorials, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.